Hello everyone, my name is Nick, and today I'm going to be showing you how to fix a simple but very annoying problem with the Ender 3 Pro, or generally just any 3D printer. So the problem that I'm talking about today involves the thermistor on your 3D printer. A thermistor is basically just a resistor that's resistance value varies with temperature, and that's how your printer is able to tell what temperature the extruder is at. Now, if we look at the extruder temperature here, you can see it just fluctuated by 15 degrees Celsius, and it is impossible. That's an erroneous reading. So a telltale sign that you have a bad thermistor is if you heat your nozzle up to temperature and you see this number start to wildly fluctuate. You can see now it's like it drops and then it goes back up. In a working 3D printer, that number will go up uniformly to the target value and then stay there rather than jumping all over the place. And what happens is when you start a print, the printer will say thermal runaway and give you that annoying, terrible beeping sound because the printer thinks that the extruder is heating up infinitely and there's a thermal runaway underway, which is very dangerous, could start a fire. So it's definitely a legitimate concern, but as you can see, this is clearly a bad thermistor, so we're going to go ahead and replace that. Okay, so here we are with our little problem child of the day here. So the thermistor is located underneath of this cover on this side of the heating block. So we're going to need to remove that, and in order to do that, there are two screws, one here and one here. They're both Allen heads. The Allen wrench that you need comes with the kit, so you can just take both those out with that. And then we're also going to need to access where the thermistor connects to your main board, which is underneath of here. There are two screws for that, one here and one tucked back here. So at this point, we're going to remove those. Okay, so first we're going to take this cover off. So we've got our two Allen head screws here. Let me get that lined up. We'll check exactly what size these are and put that number in the description so you can have what you need to do this repair. Again, it's a relatively simple repair and the part is super cheap. You can get a set of 5 thermistors on Amazon for like probably $10, which is awesome because it makes these printers super easy to use. And the thing about buying a cheap printer is that the parts are usually cheap too, so repairing it is a pretty low-cost task. There we go. So we've got both of our screws out. We're going to go ahead and take this cover off, just like that. Nice and easy. And now you can see we have exposed our actual hot end here. Okay, so now we've got that cover off. You'll notice there is a zip tie right here holding all these wires together. I am going to go ahead and cut that, and the reason being is ease of access. If you're going to do the same, be careful not to cut the wires. That'll come right off for you there. Maybe. There we go. That lets us move things around a little more here. You can pull this wire mesh up a bit, and we can pull this cover off to expose our actual hot end. I would tuck it behind this gantry here. And now, if we look inside of here, so it's a little tough to see it right now, but behind this red wire, these two clear wires that are on top of my fingernail right now are the actual thermistor itself. And this screw here is a Phillips head screw. The thermistor sticks into this heating block and is held in place by that screw. So our next step is going to be to remove that screw. So any Phillips head will do. It's a relatively large screw, so just go ahead and push the I guess you could call it the gantry, right up against the edge, and go ahead and loosen that screw. You'll notice if your printer was correctly manufactured that it probably wasn't on there that tight. Also, you don't need to take it all the way out, just loosen it enough that those clear wires that I spoke about are free freely able to be moved. And at that point, just move those clear wires out from underneath the screw head. So I've just done that. It's a little difficult to get in there, but not too bad. And gently pull on the clear wires to remove the thermistor from the heating block. Let me see if I can get it out here. There we go. So I am not an electrical engineer at all, but that looks damaged to me. There's a couple things that can happen with these. Most of the time it's just wear and tear. Yeah, I mean, it's falling apart in my hand. The wires are exposed. That's no good. So in the official Creality video, what they're going to tell you to do, they're going to tell you to take this entire wiring mesh here off. They're going to tell you to take this mainboard cover off, unplug every single wire, and route the new thermistor wire all the way through this mesh back to the mainboard properly. I have an alternative solution that is by no means the correct way, but it is certainly a quick way. So all we're going to do with this old thermistor here, we're just going to, first of all, significantly separate it from these red wires so that there's no danger of you hurting them. And then we take our handy little snips here, and we're just going to cut it. I know, this is probably like horrible, but cut it right off. And then let's get a little close up here. Yeah, looks pretty damaged to me. So at this point, we're going to remove the two screws on this side that hold in the mainboard cover. So they're the same size as the ones on the cover for the actual heating element. So let's get this first one here. Might be a little tight. I believe they Loctite these, so they're a little tough to get out. For this first one, you're gonna have to move the bed so that it's in the backmost position. For the second one, try not to break my printer here, you're gonna move the bed so that it is in the frontmost position. So like right up here, and then you can see that second screw right back there. I'm gonna stick this in here. And then remember your lefts and rights, unlike me. Loosen that screw up. Okay, pretend I loosened it. So at this point, we're gonna need to access the underside of the mainboard. So go ahead and push your bed all the way back so that it doesn't slam backwards, and lift the printer up gently, keyword, and flip it over until you can access the bottom part of this mainboard. Okay, so we've gone ahead and flipped it over, and now we just have 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. Take those all out, and then we'll be on to the next step. Okay, so we got all those screws out. We're gonna take the board here, or the mainboard cover, off. Now, remember this fan is attached, so don't just like rip it off. You'll break the wires. And you probably shouldn't let it hang like this, but that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Oh boy. Now, we've exposed the main board. So this is the actual brain of your 3D printer. There's a lot going on in here, a lot of different connections, complex stuff. It looks very scary. But all you need to do to replace the thermistor, this top clip here is the extruder thermistor connection. So all we're gonna do is, using our extremely well-trained fingers, you need to pinch that clip and gently remove it. Emphasis on gently. You really do not want to damage your board at this step. Now in my case, and hopefully my case alone, Creality decided to cover these connections in hot glue, which is just lovely. So it might take a little work to get that out, but be persistent and eventually you'll get it out. Okay, so I basically had to cut the hot glue a little bit, but I was able to get this out. So now we're on to the next step. These are the replacement thermistors that I ordered. This is the label. As you can see, they fit a variety of different printers. They are super simple in implementation. So this specific kind of replacement, you get the entire thing. So here we have the actual thermistor. That's what a good one is supposed to look like, at least as far as I can tell. And then we have the whole thing all the way back to the plug. So the reason that we've cut the thermistor in this video is because rather than just putting a new end on it, we're replacing the entire thing. And as you can see, they come in quite a mess here of wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and untangle that before we get to the next step. Okay, so here's our untangled thermistor. There's just a bunch of wire attached to these, but this is what the plug looks like, and this is what a nice brand new thermistor looks like. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna plug the plug end of your brand new thermistor into the port that you just unplugged the old one from. Make sure you hear a nice click sound when you plug that in. That's the only way to know that it's fully seated. You can see that the old plug is still in here, and this is the new one I've just plugged in here. I would probably recommend just cutting this plug off so you don't confuse yourself in the future. But there's no risk, essentially, that those dead wires are going to cause any problems because they've been completely disconnected from the board. Again, this is not the proper way to do it, but rather the quick way. So all we're going to do next is we're going to take this part here, so these wires, and you can see everything going on in here comes out of this area right here. So we're going to take our new thermistor wire and we're going to take it down through this channel and just kind of try to get it to run with that wire bundle. So maybe just tuck it in the side there, something like that. So since we're all done fiddling around in this section, we can go ahead and take our main board cover and put that back on. Now, you'll notice that when you took these 3 screws out, there were 2 short ones and 1 long one. The top 2 brackets get the short screws, and this bottom one here gets the long one. We've gone ahead and flipped over our printer here, so we're back right side up. And all of the wires that were coming out of the main board come out this back end here. So we're going to take our brand new thermistor and its thermistor wire. We're going to bring it around towards the hot end. Now, this next part is not too bad, but it is important that you do it right. So I'm going to try to get the camera in here to show you guys what I mean. So this is your heating block and the screw that holds your thermistor in. So you can see there's a hole right underneath of that screw. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to take your thermistor right here and you're going to stick the end of it, I'm going to do my best here, I can't really see, into that hole, and then once you've got the thermistor in there, I can't really see, so I might not be able to do it with the camera on, but you want to stick your thermistor into that hole, and then you're going to take the clear wires and wrap them upwards underneath of this screw head to hold it in place. Now, these are not the most strong components, so try to be gentle when you're putting it in. So hopefully you guys can see it there, but the thermistor is inside of the heating block now. The next step you're going to do is, as you can see here, the clear wires are kind of wrapped underneath of that screw head. You're going to then want to tighten that Phillips head screw, but do not over tighten it or it will crush the wires and destroy the thermistor. We have now reinstalled our new thermistor. You can see it right there. This should fix our problem, and what I would recommend doing in terms of the wire management for this, the benefit of doing it this way is that it's quick. The downside is that you don't include it in this wire bundle. What I have done on other printers and what I will do on this one as well is just take some clear tape and run the thermistor wire right along with the Bowden tube and the wire bundle, and essentially just tape it where the zip ties are, or you could even zip tie it. and that will hold the thermistor wires in place, and they go to the same place that this wire bundle goes to, so it's not a huge issue. Again, it's not the most professional way to do it, but if you're like me, you're probably just looking to get this done, not necessarily to get it done in a pretty way. So with that being said, it comes time for us to take our little cover here and again, make sure those wires are coming through the right spot. So that's that top part there. Line this right back up with where it was when you took it off. So that should be right about there. And reinstall those 2 screws that we took off to take this off in the first place. Okay, so there you have it with everything completely reinstalled. You can see that with the wiring taped to the existing wire bundle, it does not look that bad, and in my opinion, it's completely functional. There's no reason to take the entire bundle off, disconnect all the wires, just so you can route these 2 brand new wires that are probably going to go bad again soon enough through that bundle. I feel like this is a much more efficient way to do it. So now we've got our printer back in its spot. We've reconnected it to power. We're going to go ahead and turn it back on and verify that our fix worked. So we can see right off the bat that we have our extruder reading here. We're reading 18 degrees C and 17 on the bed. That is correct. So now to test that this worked, you could do a test print, but then you're probably going to waste filament. Easy way to test it, just hit preheat PLA, preheat PLA end, and that's going to heat your extruder up to 200 degrees, and we'll quickly be able to see if this thermistor is reading properly or not. Okay, so as you can see, we are climbing towards that 200 degree extruder temperature, and notice how the reading is not crazy all over the place like it was before. It is consistent. It's not jumping up by more than 1 or 2 degrees at a time or down. And not only is this a fix that's necessary because the thermal runaway error will stop your prints, but it's also a fix that's going to help your print quality because you'll get more consistent temperatures and more uniform prints. So that's going to be all for this video on fixing this Ender 3 Pro's thermistor / thermal runaway issue. I hope you guys found that this was a useful fix, and I hope that my methodology makes sense to you. I know that technically the right way to do it would be to route the thermistor through the wire bundle like we talked about, instead of just routing it on the outside and taping it to the wire bundle. But I think this is the quickest and most efficient way to get it done. Thermistor failures are common on 3D printers. They're a cheap part to get on Amazon, and it's a nice, easy fix. So if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment. If you have questions, again, leave a comment. I'd be happy to help. Consider subscribing if you'd enjoy more content like this, and thank you so much for watching.